The sea has always called to humankind. It whispers in calm tides and roars in crashing waves. For the ancient Greeks, the sea was never empty or silent. It was alive, restless, and filled with divine presence. At its heart stood Poseidon, the god of oceans and storms. He carried a trident, symbol of authority and transformation. With it, he could summon islands or stir endless waves. To sailors, Poseidon was both protector and challenger. A prayer to him could mean safe passage across waters. But neglect or arrogance could awaken the sea of storms. This story is not one of destruction or bloodshed. It is about balance, pride, and lessons hidden in tides. We will journey through his myths, both mighty and tender. We will hear how he shaped the lives of mortals. We will see his rivalries with gods and his triumphs. Each tale reveals another face of the shifting sea. Gentle calm and sudden storm, harmony and upheaval. Poseidon was never only wrath, he was also creation. As we begin, imagine waves rising under a moonlit sky. The voice of the sea is calling, and Poseidon waits within the depths. In the beginning, there was a darkness and silence across the cosmos. The world had not yet found its form, nor its rhythm. From this vast emptiness, the Titans rose, mighty and ancient. Among them was Cronus, who ruled with a heavy hand. Cronus feared his children would overthrow him, as prophecy foretold. To prevent this, he swallowed each child at birth. One by one, the children disappeared into his endless hunger. But Rhea, his wife, longed for her youngest son's survival. When Poseidon was born, she could not bear the loss. She devised a plan of clever deception and hidden hope. Instead of handing the infant to Cronus, she offered a trick. A stone wrapped in swaddling cloths was given to him. Cronus, blinded by fear, swallowed it without question or pause. Meanwhile, the child Poseidon was carried far from his father. Rhea entrusted him to hidden protectors in the deep. Some say he was sheltered by nymphs of the sea. Others whisper he was raised in the quiet of caves. Wherever the truth lies, Poseidon grew safely, far from harm. The sea's rhythm became his lullaby and his teacher. The waves spoke to him of freedom and endurance. The salt winds carried secrets of strength and transformation. As he grew, his spirit mirrored the nature of water. Calm one moment, rising with untamed force the next. When the time of destiny arrived, Zeus freed his siblings. The children of Cronus rose together against their father's reign. The great Titanomachy shook the earth, sky, and ocean alike. Though the details fade in myth, the outcome was clear. The old order fell, and a new age began. The world was divided among the three divine brothers. Zeus claimed the skies, bright and boundless above. Hades descended into the underworld, deep and shadowed below. And Poseidon received the oceans, vast and untamed. It was a realm both endless and unknowable. No mortal could ever master its tides or its depths. For Poseidon, it was both a gift and a burden. The sea gave him power beyond measure and imagination, but it also demanded vigilance, balance, and endless watchfulness. He stood at the shore of his new dominion. The horizon stretched wide, unbroken, and infinite before him. The waves rose to greet him like loyal companions. The currents bent in acknowledgement of their new ruler. Poseidon lifted his trident, symbol of his eternal authority. With a strike upon the waters, he claimed his realm. The seas roared in agreement, echoing across every shore. Dolphins leapt, and the song of nymphs filled the tides. This was the moment Poseidon became more than a god. He became the guardian of sailors and the maker of storms. He became the voice that whispered in every crashing wave. And so began the reign of Poseidon, lord of the seas. A reign not marked by conquest, but by presence, not by endless fury, but by the rhythm of water. For in the beginning, he was not wrath alone. He was creation, change, and the restless heart of the ocean. And the sea has never forgotten his first step upon its tide. Beneath the rolling waves, Poseidon dreamed of a kingdom to call his own. The ocean stretched without end, yet it lacked a true center. The god of the sea desired a dwelling, a heart for his domain. So he began to imagine a palace unlike any ever seen. It would not be built of stone, nor of mortal hands. Its walls would shimmer with coral, glowing in hues of red and gold. Pearls would shine like stars, embedded in the ocean's depths. Crystal clear water would cascade through arches of seashell and marble. Each chamber would echo with the song of tides and dolphins. The sea nymphs, graceful and ageless, aided him in creation. They wove gardens of kelp and adorned them with fish of color. The dolphins leapt joyfully, carrying stones and treasures to decorate halls. Even the currents bent themselves to shape this underwater citadel. Slowly, the palace of Poseidon rose beneath the waves. Its towers gleamed, visible through the shifting light of the sea. Mortals who glimpsed it from passing ships whispered of magic below. They imagined a city of wonders where gods walked among shadows. For Poseidon, it became more than a throne or dwelling. It was a sanctuary, a place of harmony with the ocean. From here, he could watch the horizons and listen to the tides. He could sense the movement of ships and the prayers of sailors. Every ripple in the water became part of his awareness. Every storm or calm began here, within these coral halls. The palace was not silent. It was filled with song and life. Nereids danced through open chambers, their voices carrying through currents. Whales sang deep notes that resonated within the palace floor. Schools of fish shimmered like living jewels, painting walls with silver light. Dolphins guarded the gates, loyal and playful, swift as the waves. This was not a fortress of war, but a temple of balance. Poseidon sat upon a throne carved of pearl and crystal. It was not raised high, but woven into the living sea. His trident stood beside him, gleaming with the power of storms. When mortals prayed, their words rose through the waters to this hall. Poseidon listened, weighing devotion, respect, and the purity of need. Those who honored the ocean found favor in calm waters. Those who forgot humility faced trials through waves and winds. Yet the palace itself remained untouched by rage or pride. It was a symbol of stability within a restless world. For while storms raged above, the halls below stayed serene, like the heart of the sea, calm and unshaken by turmoil. Here Poseidon was more than a god of power. He was a guardian, a listener, and a keeper of secrets. Stories say sailors sometimes dreamed of this palace in their sleep. Visions of coral towers and glowing pearls guided them to safety. Others claimed to hear the faint sound of singing under waves, a melody too beautiful to belong to any mortal throat. These dreams and whispers became part of Poseidon's legend, a reminder that the sea held both mystery and mercy, and at its heart, a palace watched over all who traveled. In this hidden kingdom, Poseidon's reign found both beauty and purpose. The ocean was vast, but it now had a soul within, and the palace of coral and pearl still waits beneath the waves, a silent witness to prayers, storms, and the eternal rhythm of tides. The sea has many voices, but Poseidon's trident carried the loudest. It was more than a symbol. It was the heart of his dominion. Forged in divine fire, it gleamed with the light of eternity. Its three prongs reflected the ocean's endless cycle of change. Creation, transformation, and renewal flowed within its design. When Poseidon held it, the waters bent to his command. With a single touch, rivers could spring from barren rock. He struck the ground, and fountains burst with crystal waters. At times, he raised entire islands from the silent depths. Each new shore was a gift, carved by his trident's will. Mortals who found these lands marveled at their sudden appearance. They built homes, planted fields, and blessed Poseidon for his gift. But the trident was also a reminder of balance. For the same tool that created could also unsettle. With its strike, the calmest seas could awaken in fury. Storms would gather, waves would climb like mountains in the night. Thunder rolled across the skies as waters churned below, not as punishment alone, but as a lesson of respect. The trident demanded humility from those who traveled the sea. To sailors, it was a mystery and a promise. They carved images of it onto their ships for protection. They whispered prayers to it before daring long voyages. Every fisherman who cast a net felt its unseen presence. For the trident was not distant, but near to every tide. Poseidon never wielded it thoughtlessly, though myths speak of his pride. Even in anger, the trident's power was not endless destruction. It was a reminder that all things must remain in balance. Just as the sea gives, it must also reclaim in time. The Nereids sang of its power in songs of warning. Their voices told of waves that could cleanse or overwhelm. Mortals who listened learned wisdom hidden in these melodies. The trident was not meant for fear, but for reverence. Its glow beneath the water was said to calm creatures. Whales followed its light, and dolphins danced near its path. Even the smallest fish seemed to swim with its rhythm. For the trident's essence was woven into the ocean itself. Legends say it once touched the edge of the heavens. The stars shimmered brighter when its prongs reached skyward. The winds bowed low, carrying storms to their destined place. Some believe the moon pulled tides because of its blessing. Each tale reflected the awe mortals felt for its mystery. In the palace beneath the sea, it stood beside the throne, not resting in shadow, but glowing like a lighthouse of power. Visitors whispered in wonder at its quiet strength. It did not need to move to command respect. Its presence filled the halls like the pulse of the sea. Poseidon often placed his hand upon it in thought, not to summon storms, but to feel the ocean's heartbeat. Through it, he listened to the farthest corners of the water. He could sense ships lost in mist, prayers said in fear. The trident connected him to all who braved the waves, and in return, it demanded he guide with wisdom. Poseidon's reign was vast, but the trident made it intimate. It tied him to every sailor, every island, every drop of rain. So the god of the sea was never distant from mortals. His power was not only in storms, but in connection. The trident's glow was both a warning and a comfort. For those who respected it, the sea became a friend, and those who forgot its lessons found themselves humbled by tides. Thus, the trident was not just a tool of command. It was the ocean's voice, echoing through Poseidon's hand forevermore. There was once a time when the gods quarreled over a city. It was a land of promise, fertile and bright beneath the sun. Its hills overlooked the sea, and its people sought divine favor. The gods desired this place, each eager to claim it as their own. Among them stood Poseidon, lord of the ocean's endless expanse. He wished to extend his dominion from the waves to the shore. Beside him came Athena, goddess of wisdom and skill. She too saw greatness in the city, a chance to guide its destiny. The mortals turned to the gods, uncertain who should be their patron. So a contest was declared, one gift from each deity. The people would choose, and the victor would guard the city forever. Poseidon approached first, his trident gleaming with the sea's authority. He struck the earth, and the ground trembled beneath his hand. From the crack rose a spring, waters surging with his might. The people gathered, marveling at the fountain that burst forth. Yet when they tasted, the water ran salt upon their lips. It spoke of the sea, powerful, endless, but unfit to drink. Some admired the gift, seeing strength and connection to the ocean. Others frowned, uncertain of its worth for daily life. Then came Athena, calm and measured, her eyes filled with thought. She pressed her hand to the soil and planted a seed. In time, an olive tree grew, green leaves shimmering in the light. Its branches promised food, oil, and shade for generations. The people rejoiced, for the gift spoke of wisdom and peace. They declared Athena the victor, and the city bore her name, Athens. Poseidon stood aside, his pride stung by the choice. He had offered the force of the sea, eternal and vast. Yet the people had chosen a tree, humble but lasting. The contest was not merely about gifts, but about vision. Athena saw what mortals needed most, sustenance and stability. Poseidon had offered power, but power alone could not sustain life. Still, the god of the sea did not withdraw his gaze. Though Athens belonged to Athena, Poseidon remained tied to its shores. The salt spring he created did not vanish from the earth. It continued to flow as a reminder of his presence. Travelers who came to Athens could still hear its gentle sound. They remembered that the sea was never far from the city. In later days, sailors prayed to Poseidon before departing its harbors. They sought calm waters and safe journeys beyond the horizon. The rivalry between Athena and Poseidon became a story of balance, wisdom and strength, land and sea, both vital to life. The contest revealed not only the will of gods, but human choice. Mortals chose peace, yet they did not forget the sea's power. Poseidon, though wounded in pride, learned from the lesson. Even a god could not always shape destiny to his desire. Sometimes, creation lay not in grandeur, but in quiet usefulness. The olive tree stood firm on the hill of the Acropolis. Its roots reached deep into the soil, its leaves kissed the sky. The spring of Poseidon flowed nearby, hidden in shadow. Together, they told a story of rivalry and harmony. And so Athens grew, guided by wisdom, but touched by the sea. The memory of that contest lingered, carried in myth and song. A tale of gifts, pride, and the choices that shape a city. Poseidon remained eternal, his storms still sweeping across the waters. But he carried within him the echo of that day. A reminder that even the mightiest wave must bow to wisdom. And that balance, not victory, is the truest strength of all. There is an island far from the mainland, rocky and windswept by the sea. Its cliffs rise high, crowned with temples and silent groves. Here lived Minos, the great king of Crete, blessed with Poseidon's favor. When he sought proof of his right to rule, he prayed to the sea god. Poseidon answered with a sign, sending forth a shining white bull. It rose from the waves, strong and beautiful, a marvel to all. The people rejoiced, seeing it as proof of Minos' divine claim. The bull was to be offered back to Poseidon in sacrifice. Yet Minos gazed upon the beast and felt pride stir within him. He could not part with such a wonder, perfect and powerful. So he kept it for himself, hiding it from the god's gaze. On the altars, another lesser bull was given in its place. The waves did not roar that day, but the sea remembered. Poseidon, though patient, does not easily forget such slight or deceit. The bull that should have returned to the sea remained on land. Its hooves thundered across the fields, its breath fierce as storm wind. Mortals whispered that Poseidon's eye still lingered upon the beast. It became a symbol of pride, but also of broken promises. For when gifts are denied their rightful place, balance is disturbed. The bull carried the mark of the sea, restless and untamed. Some said its very presence reminded Minos of his dishonor. The god of oceans had not raised his trident in fury, but the silence was heavier than waves crashing against the shore. It spoke of judgment deferred, of storms gathering far beyond sight. In Crete, life went on with grandeur and festivity. Palaces shone with painted walls, dances filled the courts at dusk. The bull was paraded in triumph, admired for its majesty. Yet beneath the splendor, there lingered unease among the people. They felt the sea watching, vast and unyielding in patience. Some whispered warnings, urging Minos to return what was taken. Others fell silent, unwilling to challenge the will of their king. The myth of the bull became more than a tale of royalty. It was a lesson in the balance between honor and desire. Poseidon had given freely, but Minos had chosen pride. What begins as a gift may become a burden if misused. The sea teaches not only through waves, but through waiting. Its power is not always in storms, but in silence and depth. The bull remained, a living reminder of divine truth ignored. Poseidon did not rage, for the sea does not hurry. But it never forgets, and its tides return in their own time. Stories say that Crete thrived in beauty and culture. Its courts were filled with music, its ships ruled the Aegean. Yet always, in the background, loomed the memory of the bull. The god's patience is vast, but pride leaves cracks in stone. Through those cracks, water always finds its way. The tale of Minos and Poseidon is not of destruction here. It is a whisper of warning, gentle but firm as the tide. When mortals place desire above respect, the balance shifts. And the sea, eternal and watchful, will one day remind them. For Poseidon was not only giver of gifts, but guardian of order. He sought harmony between land and sea, promise and action. The bull of Crete lived on, but it carried a shadow cast not by storm, but by unkept faith. And so the story endures, a lesson carved by the waves, that every gift has a purpose and every promise a weight. Minos' choice became a myth retold through generations. And Poseidon's silence, deep and vast, spoke louder than thunder. Long ago, the seas around Greece were restless, filled with unseen perils. Sailors whispered of hidden rocks, strong currents, and storms without warning. Among the greatest of these dangers was a place feared by all. It was the narrow strait where Scylla and Charybdis made their home. No map could chart it safely, for the waters shifted each day. Some said Poseidon himself placed these perils as tests of courage. Others believed they were ancient forces, older even than the gods. Scylla was said to dwell on the cliffs, her voice echoing. Travelers claimed her cries lured ships too close to the jagged rocks. Though tales painted her as monstrous, the truth lay deeper in mystery. She was not a beast of blood, but a warning in stone. Her cliffs tore ships apart when men ignored the signs of danger. Opposite her, Charybdis roared with the pull of the deep sea. 3 times each day, she drew in the waters with terrible force. Then she released them again, a whirlpool twisting beneath the sky. No sailor could resist her pull once caught in her current. Yet some said she too was a spirit of balance, not malice. For the sea must take and give, as it has since time began. Together they formed a trial, a narrow path between destruction. Ships that sailed too close to Scylla's rocks met ruin on the cliffs. Those who drifted toward Charybdis vanished into her spiraling embrace. To pass between them required skill, courage, and divine favor. Sailors prayed to Poseidon, begging for his hand upon the waves. Some offered coins or simple songs cast into the waters. Others poured libations of oil, hoping the god would calm the sea. Many believed only Poseidon himself could guide them through safely. For he was lord of storms, but also of passage and return. The story of Scylla and Charybdis spread across the Greek world. It was told not as a tale of terror, but of choice. For every voyage is a balance between risk and hope. Too far one way, and rocks will tear the ship apart. Too far the other, and the whirlpool swallows it whole. The path between them is narrow, yet it always exists. In this way, the myth became more than a sailor's warning. It became a lesson for all who walk upon life's journey. Each of us sails between dangers, with only wisdom as our guide. Even gods cannot remove the trials that shape mortal strength. But Poseidon, in his watchful silence, reminds us to steer carefully. Some legends say Odysseus himself faced these perilous waters. Guided by knowledge, he chose the path closest to the rocks. Better to risk some than to lose all, to the whirlpool's hunger. The choice was painful, yet it showed the wisdom of measure. For in life, as in the sea, not all dangers can be avoided. Sometimes survival means choosing the lesser of two hardships. The myth of Scylla and Charybdis lived on in every harbor. Parents warned their children with it, and captains taught their crews. It was not a story of monsters alone, but of balance. The sea is vast, filled with dangers and blessings alike. Poseidon, in his dominion, gave mortals both challenge and guidance. Through these trials, sailors learned humility, skill, and reverence. They knew the ocean was not theirs to conquer, but to respect. And so the strait became a symbol of choices in all lives. For every soul must navigate between cliffs and whirlpools, and each prayer to Poseidon is a hope for safe passage. Not freedom from trials, but strength to endure them with grace. Thus the tale of Scylla and Charybdis endures across the tides. It teaches that even the narrowest path may lead to survival, and that the sea, like life itself, offers lessons in every wave. In the vast world of myths, not every tale of Poseidon was fierce. Some spoke of tenderness, of moments when the sea showed gentleness. One such story was that of Amphitrite, the quiet goddess of the sea. She was one of the Nereids, daughters of Nereus, old man of the deep. Her beauty was radiant, but more striking was her calm and grace. When Poseidon first beheld her, he felt the pull of destiny. He, lord of storms, was drawn to her serenity and strength. Yet Amphitrite did not seek the grandeur of thrones or temples. She loved the quiet of the ocean's depths, far from mortal eyes. When Poseidon sought her hand, she withdrew to the farthest seas. She feared the weight of his power, the thunder of his storms. But love is not won by force. It is found in patience. Poseidon's search for Amphitrite became known across the waves. He sent dolphins, faithful creatures of the sea, to find her. Among them was one dolphin, wiser and braver than the rest. It swam to the distant waters where Amphitrite had taken refuge. There, it spoke not of Poseidon's power, but of his heart. It told her of his longing for companionship, of his hope for harmony. Moved by its words, Amphitrite's heart softened toward the sea god. She returned with the dolphin, her spirit calm but resolute. When Poseidon saw her, he did not roar like a storm. He welcomed her with the quiet reverence of waves against sand. Their union was celebrated, not with thunder, but with gentle tides. The dolphin that bridged their hearts was honored forever after. In gratitude, Poseidon placed it among the stars as a constellation. There it shines still, a reminder of love's quiet triumph. With Amphitrite beside him, Poseidon's realm gained a new balance. She tempered his tempests with her grace and brought peace to the deep. Together they reigned, not as storm and silence, but as harmony. From their union came children, spirits of the sea in many forms. Some became guardians of waves, others dancers of foam and spray. Each carried within them both the might of Poseidon and her serenity. Mortals who spoke of Amphitrite saw her as queen of the oceans. But to sailors, she was a promise of calm after storms. She reminded them that even the fiercest sea could yield to peace. The myth of Amphitrite is not of conquest, but of union. It tells us that even the strongest must learn gentleness. Poseidon, lord of storms, found not a rival, but a partner. In her, he discovered that true power lies not in force alone. It lies in balance, in love freely given, in shared strength. The dolphin's constellation gleams each night as a gentle guide. It whispers of choices made not by pride, but by heart. In this way, the sea itself seemed to change its voice. Not always thunder, not always silence, but a song between the two. Through Amphitrite, Poseidon's realm became more than tempest and tide. It became a home for life, for beauty, and for love. And so the story lingers, carried softly on the waves. When sailors gaze at the stars above, they remember the dolphin. And they tell their children that love can calm even the wildest sea. The tale endures, not in fear, but in wonder and hope. For every storm has its stillness, and every god his companion. And Poseidon, in Amphitrite, found the calm at the heart of the ocean. In the world of the gods, rivalry was as common as the tides. Poseidon, with his mighty trident, often stood against his brother Zeus. The skies belonged to Zeus, ruler of thunder and lightning above. The seas belonged to Poseidon, endless, shifting, and powerful below. But though their realms were divided, their ambitions sometimes clashed fiercely. One tale tells of a great contest between earth and sky. It was not fought with weapons, but with will and presence. Mortals, who lived under both realms, often feared their disputes. When storms gathered in the heavens and seas churned beneath, they wondered if it was Zeus and Poseidon quarreling again. One such quarrel arose over the city of Troy long ago. Each god chose sides as mortals waged their legendary battles. Poseidon favored the Achaeans, their ships crossing his restless waters. He gave them safe passage, steady winds, and calm seas. Yet Zeus watched with care, seeking balance in mortal struggles. The brothers did not fight outright, for Olympus demanded order. But beneath the surface, their rivalry shaped the fates of men. In moments of thunder and crashing waves, mortals felt their tension. They prayed to both, uncertain who would listen with kindness. Yet rivalry was not always a matter of anger or spite. It was also a reflection of their shared strength and pride. Zeus embodied the vast sky, Poseidon the infinite sea. Each sought recognition as the greater force in nature's balance. Still, there were times when they stood side by side in unity. When giants threatened Olympus, Zeus struck with lightning's fury, and Poseidon answered with quakes that shook the earth below. Together, their power was unstoppable, a reminder of their bond. Mortals watching the storms of heaven and sea learned a truth. Even rivals can stand united when greater dangers rise. The myths do not speak of blood, but of balance, They remind us that power unchecked may destroy harmony. Poseidon, though proud, understood this lesson in his brother's presence. For without the sky, the sea would seem endless and dark. And without the sea, the sky would reflect no life below. Their rivalry became a dance, a balance of might and need. At times, thunder echoed above, and waves answered below. Mortals would listen, wondering if the gods debated their fates. But when calm returned, they knew harmony had been restored. This tale of Zeus and Poseidon is not one of war. It is a lesson about balance between forces too vast to measure. The sky and sea are different, yet together they shape the world. So too did the brothers, in rivalry and reluctant kinship. From their story we learn that strength is not in domination. It is found in coexistence, in balance, in shared purpose. The Greeks told these tales not to frighten, but to guide. They sought meaning in the storms above and the tides below. And they found in Zeus and Poseidon a mirror of life. For we too struggle between pride and unity, force and peace. The sea teaches us to yield, the sky teaches us to aspire. Together, they remind us that harmony sustains both gods and mortals. And so the myths endure, carried on wind and wave alike. Each time thunder rolls over the sea, the story is told again. Each time the sea calms after storm, the balance is remembered. For Zeus and Poseidon are not only rivals, they are guardians. Guardians of sky and sea, of power and peace in motion. And in their eternal rivalry, the world finds its rhythm. Among the gods, contests often decided honor and dominion. One of the most famous was the contest for Athens itself. This was no battle of weapons, but a challenge of gifts. The people of Athens would choose the god who gave most. Poseidon, proud and commanding, arrived before the mortal assembly. He raised his trident and struck the rocky ground with force. From the crack, a spring of water burst forth at once. It glittered in the sun, powerful and full of divine energy. The people gasped, for it was no ordinary water but salt. It symbolized the sea, a promise of ships and naval strength. To the Athenians, it was a gift of vast possibility. The ocean meant trade, exploration, and the courage of voyages. But then came Athena, goddess of wisdom and strategy. She stepped forward with calm grace, holding an olive branch. She planted it in the earth, and it blossomed instantly. The olive tree spread its silver leaves in the Athenian sun. It offered fruit for food, oil for lamps, and wood for life. It was a gift of peace, sustenance, and enduring prosperity. The people looked upon both gifts with awe and deep thought. The sea meant power, but the olive tree meant survival. The spring of Poseidon roared with restless pride and endless change. The olive tree of Athena stood steady, patient, and enduring. After much reflection, the people chose the gift of Athena. They saw in her wisdom the path to a flourishing city. Athens was named in her honor, a city of thought. Its culture grew not only in power, but in philosophy. Poseidon's heart was heavy with disappointment, yet he did not rage. For though he lost, his gift was not forgotten by the sea. The Athenians built temples to honor both gods in their city. They remembered that without the sea, their ships could not sail, and without wisdom, their strength would fade like waves on sand. This myth was told to explain the dual nature of Athens. It was a city of both sailors and thinkers, of war and peace. It held Poseidon's restless ambition and Athena's steady guidance. For the Greeks, the story was more than divine rivalry. It was a lesson in choice, in balance, and in vision. The sea promised glory, but also risk, storms, and uncertainty. The olive tree promised stability, nourishment, and lasting growth. Both were essential, but one would lead the city's destiny. The tale shows us that not all victories are of force. Sometimes the quiet gift, born of wisdom, shapes the greater legacy. And yet, Poseidon remained close to the heart of Athens. Sailors prayed to him before each voyage into unknown waters. They poured offerings into the sea, asking his favor and calm. For in their city's life, both gods remained forever entwined. The spring of Poseidon was said to still flow in memory. The olive trees of Athena still spread shade over the land. In this way, both gifts lived on, neither truly defeated. Athens thrived on wisdom, but its ships still conquered the seas. The contest became legend, retold for generations under moon and stars. It was not about victory, but about what truly sustains. And so we remember that even gods taught lessons to mortals. Poseidon showed strength, Athena showed wisdom, and together they shaped a city. Their story endures not in rivalry, but in harmony of gifts. And Athens, born of choice, became a beacon to the world. Long ago, when mortals dreamed of cities rising from dust, gods watched with keen interest. Among them was Poseidon, whose eyes always turned toward the sea. He longed for a city to bear his mark, a jewel upon the coast. Not only Athens, but other places too bore the touch of his will. One such tale speaks of Corinth, a city between two great seas. There, Poseidon was honored as protector of sailors and master of waves. The people built temples where offerings of shells and salt were given. They prayed for safe passage across waters that carried them far and wide. To them, the sea was both pathway and mystery, endless yet near. Poseidon was not a distant god, but a constant companion to life. Each voyage was an act of trust, each return a gift of grace. Sailors told stories of seeing his presence in the crest of waves. Some spoke of dolphins guiding their ships as signs of his blessing. Others claimed calm waters followed after prayers whispered into the night. But Poseidon was not only guardian, he was teacher through the sea. He showed mortals the beauty of courage, patience, and respect for nature. For the sea could not be conquered, only understood and honored deeply. In Corinth, festivals celebrated him with songs, races, and offerings to the tide. Children learned early that their lives were woven with the ocean's rhythm. Merchants thanked him for trade winds that carried wealth to distant shores. Fishermen called upon him for bountiful nets and gentle returning waves. The myth of Poseidon in Corinth shows another side of his power. It was not wrath or rivalry, but a partnership with mortal lives. Through him, the people came to see the sea as sacred teacher. Every storm that threatened was also a lesson in humility and awe. Every calm harbor was a reminder of the gifts of trust and balance. The Greeks did not fear him only, they honored him as essential. For no city by the sea could thrive without Poseidon's quiet favor. In his myths, we see the bond between gods and mortals shaped. It was not always of triumph, but of shared survival and growth. Poseidon gave no olive tree, yet he gave the pulse of trade. He gave no flame of fire, yet he gave the courage of sailors. The Greeks saw in him a spirit that reflected their own journey. They too sought to master storms of life without losing their course. And so his temple stood near harbors where land met restless water. Priests poured offerings, but sailors gave the truest devotion in silence. They knew each voyage was a prayer, each wave a whispered answer. The myth of Poseidon in Corinth teaches us to see the sea anew, not as enemy, not as master, but as eternal companion in life. It is a tale that blends divinity with the daily breath of mortals. Through it, Poseidon becomes not only god of storms, but guide of souls. When we hear the waves, we hear stories told thousands of years ago. We hear the voices of sailors who trusted the god of the deep. We hear the songs of festivals where joy met gratitude and reverence. In every ripple and tide, Poseidon's presence lingers beyond time itself. The story endures because the sea endures, always calling, always teaching. And as long as waves reach the shore, the myth of Poseidon lives. The sea is eternal, and so too are the stories carried by its waves. Poseidon, lord of the deep, remains a figure of power and mystery. Through his myths we have traveled from storms to stillness, from wrath to love. We have seen him as rival to Zeus, brother of the sky's thunder. We have seen him as lover of Amphitrite, finding harmony in the depths. We have seen him contest with Athena, shaping the destiny of Athens. We have followed him through Corinth, guiding sailors and merchants across endless seas. Each tale is a tide, flowing outward, returning always to the shore. They do not end in destruction, but in lessons whispered by the waves. For the sea does not only test, it also teaches those who listen. It teaches humility, for no mortal can master its boundless power alone. It teaches patience, for storms give way to calm if one endures. It teaches courage, for every voyage begins with trust in unseen horizons. And it teaches wonder, for within its depths lie mysteries beyond imagination. Poseidon embodies these truths as both tempest and calm, wrath and creation. He is not a god of fear alone, but of awe and respect. The Greeks understood that in honoring him, they honored the sea itself. They poured offerings not to avoid anger, but to affirm their connection, for they knew their lives depended on the sea's shifting grace. Today, his myths remind us of the same eternal balance. The oceans still shape our world, vast, untamed, and endlessly alive. They carry ships as they once did, and they hold secrets untold. They demand care, for their health is the health of all life. Just as the ancients respected the sea, so must we in our time. To forget its power is to forget our place in its story. The myths of Poseidon are not just legends, but living metaphors. They show us the need for balance between ambition and wisdom. They show us the harmony possible between strength and gentleness. They show us that even gods find meaning in companionship and love. Every wave carries echoes of his trident, striking earth and shaping destiny. Every calm harbor carries the grace of Amphitrite, softening storms to peace. Every olive tree whispers the choice of Athena, wisdom over fleeting pride. And every sailor's prayer remembers the bond between mortals and the sea. As we close this journey, listen once more to the ocean's voice. Its rhythm is the heartbeat of Poseidon, steady, timeless, and unbroken. It speaks not only of power, but of responsibility to the world. For the sea sustains, tests, and inspires those who dare to know it. When you hear waves at night, imagine gods walking beneath the surface. Imagine Poseidon's gaze, watching over sailors, guiding them to safe passage. Imagine the stars above, where the dolphin shines as love's reward. Imagine Athens and Corinth, cities built with gifts of gods and sea. Their myths are not forgotten, but flow like rivers into memory. And memory itself is a tide, carrying stories into tomorrow. Poseidon will always be more than a god of storms and quakes. He will be the symbol of the vast, restless, yet life-giving sea. He will be the reminder that strength must walk with wisdom, and he will be the call that reminds us of our place in nature. For the sea is not ours to conquer, but ours to honor. And Poseidon, lord of oceans, waits always within its depths, waiting not with wrath alone, but with lessons for those who listen. So let us carry his stories as the Greeks once carried them. Let us walk with humility before the tides and wonder before the waves. And let us remember that within the sea's voice is an eternal truth, that we are small, but part of something greater, timeless and divine. The sea endures, the myths endure, and Poseidon endures forevermore.